Blurple Crocodile is a deck that excels at drawing cards. His leader ability is Don 1. When you activate an event, you may draw one card if you have 4 or less cards in your hand and haven't drawn a card using this leader's effect during this turn. This means you can take advantage of this leader effect on your own turn and on your opponent's turn, so we have some cards in here to try and take advantage of that. He's a 4 life leader. He is double color, so he does unfortunately have that drawback, and I think that is one of the biggest drawbacks of this deck. He's also lacking the best high end, I think, that's available to these colors. Losing the 10 Don Kaido, the 10 cost Kaido is a pretty big blow, I think. Also, not having access to Onigashima or a card like Onigashima, I think, does hurt this leader quite a lot. However, I still think it's a solid leader. I don't expect it to be the best deck in the game or anything, but he can draw a lot. He's very fun. Definitely the most fun I've had playing this game. So we are playing, to start off, we're going to go through what I consider to be the engine of the deck. So we're going to start with the 4 Miss All Sunday, which is the most important card in this engine. Because she is a blocker, so she protects your 4 life. When she dies, she adds an event back from your trash to your hand of any color. So you can play the strong purple events as well as the strong blue events, enabling you to draw on your own turn, on your opponent's turn, depending on which events you're running. Really, really strong effect. She can die, she can float into a blast breath or something that keeps you alive as well. So really, really, really strong effect. Very good card. Missile Sunday. I think she's only going to get better as well. I really, really like Missile Sunday. She only works with Baroque works, so you can only really play her in this crocodile or the other crocodile. I think she's better in this one. And then from there, we are going to be running a Baroque works core. I like running the Baroque works build of this deck because it gives you access to the event card Baroque works, which is a 1 cost. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Look for any cards with a Baroque works tag. Add it to your hand. This works on events and it works on characters. So I like this card a lot because in the late game, you can use this just as a draw 1 off your leader ability. You can put 1 Don on your leader. You have 4 or less cards in your hat and pop the Baroque works. You can maybe get a hit off the Baroque works and draw 1. So I think this is like a nice card in the late game. I only run 2 of it because I don't want to see it too often. I'm mostly using it. I find I personally mostly use it in the late game. You can use it earlier game, but it's just like a nice little card you don't want to run too much of. It's never really one you're adding back with Missile Sunday either. So targets we're looking for off that card, we're looking for our 2 Miss Double Fingers. She is a really good early game pressure card. She's a 3 cost, 4,000 attack. On KO, you draw a card. She's only a 1,000 counter as well. So basically, you want to play this card in your early game when you're trying to control your opponent's board, which is your goal with this deck. It's no use having all of these events, all of these blockers, if you're not doing anything, if you're just playing defensive. And Miss Doublefinger allows you to play more aggressive in the early game. And she's a searchable card off Baroque works if you need to play that turn 1 or something. You can play this card on your second turn always, and I really like that about her. Next, we're playing 4 Bonclay. He is a searchable 2k counter. He has the same 3 cost, 4,000 stat line as Miss Doublefinger. I don't personally find I'm ever really using his effect. I'm really often not playing this card. If I had the choice, I'd almost always rather be playing Miss Doublefinger. But we have other 3 cost, 4,000 power cards that I'd rather play than this card. I'd mostly just use this card as a searchable 2k counter, which is very strong. That is a very good thing to have. And then for the last Baroque Works card, I'm running 4 of the 7-drop Crocodile. You do not have to run 4 of this card. I just personally like it because it's a 1k counter, and I found that when I was running cards such as Dofi, I was seeing him too much and I wasn't able to discard him. Same with Mihawk, although Mihawk having the 9,000 power definitely can be really nice in matchups like Kaido. I would consider maybe dropping 1 Crocodile, putting a Mihawk in or something. And then the other option that is the 9-drop Kaido. I did not like running the 9-drop Kaido because I found the Don minus effect to just be too costly. I think it can be hard to get to max Don in this deck, and because I'm playing the more Baroque Works focus build of the deck, not like a purple ramp focus build of the deck, I just found him too costly. The Don minus effects just hit me too hard without having those ramp cards. And I think if a card's, because you can't play Onigashima, you can't have that stage, you can just tap every turn to get more Don to offset your Don minus effects. I think if you are having to rely on cards like Ulti, or Sasuke, or the starter deck Jack or something in order to get more Don, I think it's just, you just have to play too many cards that's their only effect, and I don't particularly like that for this deck. If you can't run Onigashima, I just don't like it. Another searchable Baroque Works card we have is the 4 copies of Desert Sparda. This is why you run this at 4, because off Crocodile's effect, if you have 1 Don on him, he makes all blue event cards cost 1 less. This means that you have free Baroque Works in the late game. This means you have free Desert Sparda in the late game. It is a 2k counter, and you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, place them back in any order. It also has a really good trigger, draw 2 cards, trash 1 card from your hand if you get it as a trigger. So it's a great card to see in your life trigger, because you just get the free queen effect off it. And also, if you are just using it as a counter from hand, you're playing it for free. It feels so good because you get a free draw of your choice from the top 3 cards of your deck. Or if you're playing this, even at 1 cost, it's still quite nice for the draw 1 card of your choice off the top of your deck. Next, we have 2 Love Mellow. Your leader or one of your characters gets 4,000 power, then draw 1 card if you have 3 or less cards in your hand. This effect does activate first, before this effect. So this is draw 1 card if you have 4 or less and you play an event. This is draw 1 card if you have 3 or less. And the Love Mellow does not factor in to the cards in hand. So say you have 4 cards in hand, you play the Love Mellow, you do get to draw 1 off the Love Mellow here, and then 1 off the leader. So you do get the 2 draw if you have the 3 cards in hand like that. The Love Mellow, it counts as being on the field when you play it, so you don't have to worry about that. Really, really good card. I would play it more copies if I had more copies. Unfortunately, I only managed to get 1 copy of the blue starter deck. So that's why I'm running a 4 count of Blast Breath. Blast Breath is still a really, really solid card. I'd run this at 2 or 3 if I had more copies of Love Mellow, which I'd run at 3 or 4. But I don't, unfortunately. So this is what I'm playing. For you at home out there, I would try running a 4 split of Love Mellow and then a 2 split of Blast Breath. If it were me, if you don't like that, you can go the 3-3. Or hey, maybe even you find a card you want to switch out of this list. Maybe you want to drop a Desert Sparda. Maybe you want to drop one of the characters or something and play the 4 and then the 3 here or something. Completely up to you. But this is the ratio I'm currently running, and that's the ratio I would run if I could. So that's the core engine of the deck, is these events and the Baroque Works style stuff. These are the cards you want to be seeing often in your games, particularly the Missile Sunday and then Blast Breath and Love Mellow. These are such powerful cards comboed together with your leader ability. If you see Missile Sunday, Love Mellow, your leader, you are gaming. You are so happy, dude. You really want to, off your Missile Sunday, be getting your Love Mellows back to draw 2 cards with your leader ability. It feels so good, especially it being a 4,000 power. Your opponent's having to swing at you at 9 if they want to go around that. It's such a good combination. It is why this deck has such a hard purple matchup, because obviously they can swing with their 12k Kaido and that kind of thing. And, 4,000 isn't going to protect you from that. But against decks like red and sometimes green, against blue, you're really happy seeing your Love Mellow and recouping that off your Missile Sunday. Next, we are going to talk about our blue cards we're playing. So with any deck that plays blue, I think you should always be playing 4 copies of Trafalgar Law. He is a 1-cost blocker. It's just so useful in the late game. You can protect your big cards. You can use it to protect your life as well because you only have 4. It's just such a good card, and it costs 1. I think that's a must at 4 copies. Next, I am playing 4 copies of Jinbei. So this is one I don't think you have to play. This is my personal choice. I think you can play the Teach instead if you want the counter and the power to swing at other cards. I personally find Jinbei is enough because he can out like green searchers like Momonosuke and Bonnie. He can out Nami. Like, there are cards for Jinbei to swing at. So I personally prefer Jinbei because his effect is stronger, because he places a character with 3 or less cost at the bottom of the owner's deck, whereas Teach does the same thing, 3 or less cost, but to the hand. So I personally prefer Jinbei. I do see his trigger effect come up as well. I think he is a stronger card. But if you're playing the 7 Warlords of the Sea engine or something, maybe you want to play Jinbei. However, I'm not playing that. I'm focusing more on the Baroque Works engine, and I think Jinbei is just stronger board control than Teachers. And that's what I'm looking for in this build. Strong board control. Next, I'm playing 4 copies of Alvida. She is the same idea. She is a 2k counter with strong board control. There are other 2k counters you can run in this slot. I've seen, you could run the Sasuke if you want to be trying to play ramp. I've seen people do that. Or you could run Mihawk if you want to look more for the draw engine, or if you're playing the 7 Warlords engine, so you're playing Mihawk, you're playing Teach, you're playing Moria in your list. Maybe you want to do that. The other one I've seen is X-Drake, which is a good hand control card, thinning your opponent's hand. Personally, I prefer Alvida. I do find I summon her a lot, going second into red. I think she is a very nice card. If you get her down before your opponent gets Nico Robin down, your opponent can never play Nico Robin. She also does help to out blockers and that kind of thing. So I personally prefer Alvida for the board control, and that is what I'm going for in this list. However, I would recommend, if you're looking for a replacement for Alvida, if you don't like Alvida, I would recommend X-Drake, or I would recommend Mihawk, depending on whether you feel you need draw more, or whether you feel you want to thin your opponent's hand. I personally would lean on thinning your opponent's hand if you were replacing Alvida. Next, we are playing 4 copies of Jack. This is a hand thinner, so when attacking Dom -1, your opponent trashes 1 card from their hand. He's a 3 cost, 4,000 power, so again, he's a really nice card to just summon down. His effect is optional, you don't have to Don minus in the early game, so he's a really nice card to just summon down, and then just use to control the board, and then in the late game, if you've kept him alive until the late game, or if you're summoning him in the late game, he thins your opponent's hand. So Jack, really fantastic card. Absolutely love this card. I think this is a must in this deck, personally. I think if you aren't playing Jack, well, I think you're a little silly, personally. I would always play this Jack. Next is Queen. You should be running this at 4 copies. It is a 6,000 power blocker, 5 cost, Don -1, draw 2, trash 1 from your hand. The draw power is really useful, and then even if you aren't using the draw, it's just an exceptionally good blocker anyway. Unfortunately, as with the blue starter deck, I was only able to get my hands on 1 copy of the purple starter deck, so I'm running 2 copies of Virgo here, just because he's a 5 cost, 7,000 power, I can contest. The 7,000 power kid, he can't be out by Jet Pistol without the Otama combo. So, I would ignore this. I would always just play the 4 copies of Queen if you have it. If you don't, I found that I like Virgo in the slot, but hey, that's up to you. And then lastly, we have the high end. So I am playing 2 copies of the 6-drop King, 2 copies of the 7-drop King. These cards are excellent at board control. 6-drop King is Don -1, KO opponent's character with 4 or less. 7-drop King is Don -2, KO one of your opponent's characters with 3 or less, one of your opponent's characters with 2 or less. So 7-drop King works really well into like Zoro and Law, decks that are playing really, really wide. whereas 6-drop King is just a consistent board control card. You can run 4 copies of 6-drop King. I've seen people do that. Personally, I really like this 2-2 split. I think this is my favorite way to play the deck. The only other card I want to talk to you guys about that I would consider running for this list, because that is the full list. The only other card I'd consider running for this list is Kaido in the character slot. I think he can be good. You could play 2 copies of him. Maybe you want to cut out, I don't know, some like the mid-game threat. Maybe you want to cut out Double Finger or something. Maybe you want to play more towards the late game. I just find that I just lose too much Don with this character. And then I'm not profiting off. I'm not able to play my Kings when I want to play them. I'm not profiting off my Crocodile. I just find that this character is just too heavy for me to play without Onigashima. So that's me. If you guys find you're able to play it, good for you. Maybe a card that might help you play it is the Teabags. I love teabagging my opponent. I love dropping Thunder Bagua on them. If you're an enlightened teabag enjoyer, if you're a Kaido player, you could try playing this card. It is your leader gains 4,000 power for the cost of 2 Don. Then you have 2 or less life cards, add 1 Don from your Don deck and rest it. So it is a 4k counter with ramp. I have considered just playing 4 Love Mellow and then 2 Teabags. I think that could be good. That could give you access to playing more higher Don cards like Kaido. It's not something I've really tested though. And if I test it, I will update you guys and let everyone know, hey, I think this is the better way to play it. I've not tested that yet. I will let you know when I have. But currently, I think this is the most solid, most consistent list of this deck. It has really good cards to control your opponent playing wide, which is one of your big weaknesses. It can out threats. It has good draw power and blockers. And it has a really, really insanely good draw engine off the back of Love Mellow and Missile Sunday. And I completely forgot to talk about Crocodile's Banish effect, which means that your opponent isn't drawing if you're swinging with this guy for life. So the best way to play this deck is to get to your late game, use your Missile Sundays, use your events well to maintain your life. Get to your late game, drop your Crocodiles onto your board, and swing with your Crocodiles at your opponent's life, ensuring they don't get to draw off their life, and then starve them for hand control with your Jack. So this is a very like hand control-y kind of build, very board control-y kind of build, and that's the way I like to play this deck. So let me know in the comments below if you like this list, if you have any changes you would make, what your favorite way to play Blurple Crocodile is. I'll have some more deck lists coming. I'm going to be doing a Kaido one, and I have some videos talking about some of the new cards we're seeing for OPO3 coming out very soon. Thanks for watching, guys.